Hello students. Today we're going to be covering Adobe Illustrator. Adobe Illustrator is a vector graphic application. What is a vector graphic application? It's an application that allows you to do extremely accurate, precise, complex illustrations. And what is a vector? A vector is basically a mathematically defined shape made up of paths and line segments, but I'll get to showing you actual examples. But the main reason why you would use Adobe Illustrator is that for scalability, meaning it's resolution independent. So as I explained earlier when talking about Photoshop is made up of pixels. It's a raster image application which allows you to bring in digitized photographs and put them together. You can correct them or make any number of changes and alterations. Whereas Illustrator is made up of paths and anchor points. That means that whatever you create, the image that you create in Illustrator is scalable. And I'll show you an example. So before we get started, I just want to introduce you to the basic interface, and there's a lot of similarities between Illustrator and Photoshop. So on the left side we have a tool panel and some similar looking tools, and also on the right here we have the dock for more panels. So as you click on them, that brings up various panels. Of course, we're not getting any information because we actually don't have a document open at this time. I'm just going to collapse that. Before we get started, let's just open up a new document just for something to look at. So like most of these applications, you can simply go to your File menu and choose New. And up pops this dialog box where you have to make some choices, as in most of these applications. First, you should give it a name. We'll say My Illustrator. File. Next is a drop-down menu which allows you to choose a particular profile. And just like in Photoshop, you have these options of what the end purpose is of that file. So you can choose for print, web, devices, and actually I think this gives you many more options whether you're going to export your graphics to video and film. So all these will give you different options depending on what that profile is. And here this gives you other options. So I set it to web. So now we have a dimension measured in pixels. And here you have a list of more presets and standardized dimensions of either tablets or web pages, or a whole range of things that are related to web design. Oh, actually, here in the devices, yeah, that does give you for handheld tablets and such. So we have iPad Air, Mini, iPhone, on and on. Okay, but we're going to set ours back to keep it a little bit simple. We're going to set it to print, and we're also going to, as you move further down your list of choices, so here we have the dimensions. It's still measured in points. Points are really a unit of measurement used specifically for screen-based illustrations. So I prefer to work in inches since it's more familiar. And here we have a standard letter size dimension, and you have an option to set what the dimension, or excuse me, the orientation of that. So here it's portrait or landscape. And down here are options for a bleed. A bleed is that if you're working on a document and you want the image to come clean to the edge and not have any white margin around it. So you would set the image to bleed a little bit beyond the edge. And I'm just going to give you a little glimpse at these advanced settings. So you can choose your color mode. And again, this is something we touched on in Photoshop, is it all depends on what you're ultimately going to output it to. So you can choose between RGB and CMYK, and you get a little alert saying that the color space is going to be different just be aware that you might not see the color if you ultimately send this to print. So just set it right back to CMYK. Also, as I said, this is a vector graphic application. But there are effects that you can apply within Illustrator that look like Photoshop, like paint strokes, gradients, a whole range of different things, or filters that you can apply to your graphics. And what this does is set the resolution or the raster effect of any of these raster effects that you apply. And here we have preview mode. I'm going to keep that at default and just say OK. So now we have a what we might know as in Photoshop as a canvas area, but this is the terminology they use in Illustrator. So this white area is known as the artboard. Anywhere outside is either called the pasteboard or the canvas. So just keep in mind, just like in Photoshop, any portion of the image that goes beyond this border will not print. That is the dimension of your final document.